Hello there, welcome to episode 36 of Never Mind the Bullens, your bite-sized Everton podcast and vodcast. My name's Mike Peters. Episode's coming thick and fast at the minute. Obviously, we've got a real sort of concertinaed run of games, a big 2 weeks, which I mentioned in episode 35. This one, obviously, about the Leicester game, which took place last night as I record this. 1-1 draw, of course. And, you know, I think the whole thing has to be put in context. I think if at the start of the season we'd been offered 4 points against Leicester in the fixtures home and away, I think we'd have probably taken that. I think you would take that against most clubs and say, well, if you win one of the fixtures and draw the other one, that's pretty good. You're not losing games, are you? So, you know, on the balance of the game, it wasn't quite the free-flowing football spectacle that I was expecting. But that was partly because of the tactics that Everton employed. Very similar to the way that we played against them at the King Power back just before Christmas. Obviously, you know, we had to sort of adapt because no Alan, no Abdoulaye Doucouré, you know, two key cogs in the wheel. Abdoulaye Doucouré being suspended, of course, so he'll be back for Saturday against Newcastle. But we just really allowed Leicester to have the ball. You know the way they want to play. That's a typical kind of Brendan Rodgers way. So we just backed off, let them have the ball, huge amounts of possession. As we know from the Roberto Martinez era, it's not so much what amount of possession you have, it's what you do with it. Defended really solidly, played that low block, defended very deep. Michael Keane, again, making a number of excellent blocks. Yerry Mina, very good. And Big Ben Godfrey, well, he's just getting better and better. I mean, you know, I don't think it's overstating to say that we could well have got ourselves a bargain there, you know, just over 20 million, which in today's market is actually not that much. That's sort of, you know, a very average kind of price for a footballer in this day and age, which says how much money's in the game, but nonetheless. And he was terrific at left back with Luca Dean playing further on. And it was a slightly different setup in terms of Richarlison off the right, James playing as that sort of deep line player, he was playing as a number 10 really, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up on his own. We did have big chances to win the game. Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin late on had a chance. We had 3 big chances. Andre Gomez right in the last seconds there and just miscontrolled the ball. But I think if we'd have won the game, we'd have said, I think we'd have all been saying that, you know, we got away with one there because Leicester were very good. They're a very good team. Great to see James scoring another goal, and first one outside the box with his right foot in his many years playing in European football. I want to mention Andre Gomez. I've talked about him a bit. I mentioned him there in reference to the chance right at the end. I thought his energy in his industry was extremely good last night, but we were a bit overrun in midfield. He and Tom Davis were struggling a little bit, and we do desperately miss either one of Abdoulaye Doucouré and Alan, and with they're both not there, we're really up against it. I think he did well occasionally, times that, you know, they were so quick on the press that he just was losing the ball, but I think his energy levels are much better. They've improved dramatically in the last few weeks because, you know, I think prior to Christmas he was really blowing at points in games. He was really struggling after an hour, whereas last night he really went the full distance for the full 90. He was chasing things down, he was making breaks. So I'll say again, you know, we're starting to see again glimpses of the player that we know he can be, that we saw in that first season with Idrissa Gana Gueye. And, you know, once we get Alan back, obviously he's scheduled to return for the Man United game a week on Saturday, that by then, hopefully, that we might really start to see, and have another 3 games under his belt, and we really might see a start to motor and kick on again, which would be fantastic. Now mentioning all the positives, we have to turn to the, well, let's put it this way, less positives, and mention Jordan Pickford. No question he's at fault for the goal. It's so disappointing with him because that wasn't just one mistake in terms of the goal. And yeah, you could say, well, it came through a crowd of bodies, which it did, but the fact is those bodies were 15 yards from the goal. He had enough time to get down. It was close enough to him. He should have had a stronger wrist and got it away. But in reality, it should never have even got to that stage because he unnecessarily completely lost his bearings and pushed the ball out for a corner when it was sailing out anyway. Then he flapped at the corner initially, and then when he came back, he's made a complete dog's dinner of the shot. And I do wonder with him, there was a large article with him I read a couple of months ago. I think it was in the programme, actually. I can't remember which game, but I was talking about how he's using sports psychologists and all the rest of it to kind of help him. And that's what it seems to be with him. It's not a lack of ability. We know how good he can be, but it's up top. It's a mental thing. And we just have to wonder how long can you keep doing this before the penny starts to drop with him. It seems to be a concentration thing. Now, last night, and he sort of gets himself worked up into a bit of a frenzy. The analysis on BT Sport, I can't believe I'm saying this, was very, very good. Rachel Brown-Finnis, of course, very experienced goalkeeper, and Leon Osman, did talk about his concentration and his, he's almost like he's scrambled, his mind's a bit addled, and he's just therefore his decision making is affected by his concentration or his sort of needs to kind of prove himself. And by that constant need to prove himself, all it does is sow doubt because he then makes mistakes. It was... And I just wonder how long, he's been in a good run for another couple of months, but of course, the moment he made that mistake, Robbie Savage, and when he was on, I was like, right, hang on, is that better or worse than Steve McManaman? But I suppose that's the choice about being whether you're buried alive or boiled alive. It's the lesser of two evils. You're still going to die and it's still going to be incredibly painful, but... which one's which. But he did say, it's another mistake from Jordan Pickford. And I thought that's a tad harsh because he has been extremely good for the last couple of months. Since really coming back into the team after the Newcastle game, and all the maelstrom of the derby, etc. But, wonder how many times can he keep making these mistakes before Robin Olsen is given an extended run in the team. We shall see. Carlo was classically a gentleman after the game and wouldn't criticise him when he was interviewed in the pouring rain in Goodison by Matt Smith. Loved his chummy interview with Brendan Rodgers, by the way. I mean, I've dug BT Sport out a number of times on this because I just think their coverage is exceptionally poor for a huge broadcast channel whose raison d'etre really is sport. They make a particularly bad job of it. Paul Dempsey last night was, going on about Tom Davies being a great servant to Everton since 2016. He's only 22. How is he? It's saying that if he's 32, fair enough, but just bizarre. And his incessant need to call Andre Gomes for some I don't understand that. It was like having Toya Wilcox commentate on the game. I couldn't quite understand it. That's a reference for the kids there. But Leon Osman doing great. It's great to see him getting so much work, given he and I were born in the same hospital a few months apart. It's just very, very disappointing their coverage. Anyway, moving on from my regular bugbear with BT Sport. Jordan Pickford again, is he left out for Saturday for Newcastle? I think probably not. I think he's going to have to be left in for that. But the time's coming where a decision is going to have to be made with Robin Olsen as to whether he is given an extended run in the team. And his performances so far have been very good. And I think that point may well come before the end of the season. I really do. I think Jordan Pickford is one more high-profile mistake away from right. He needs to be taken out. He needs to be given a break, and Robin Olsen deserves his chance. In the context of it, it's the game, a 1-1 draw, good point, especially with the other results, of course, with Man United losing, astonishingly, home to Sheffield United. And look at it now, we've played 18 games. We've got 2 games in hand, and, the old adage of, points in the bank are better than games in hand, and those games in hand are against Villa and against Man City, both of whom are having pretty good seasons, obviously City top of the league. But actually, if we won those 2 games, and it shows how mad this league is this year, is that we would be a couple of points from being off the top of the table. Astonishing stuff, really. But, against the other results, and obviously Liverpool playing Tottenham again tonight, and really a draw would be a fantastic result for us in the context of it. It's a good point. Keeps Leicester not getting away from us. We're staying within, shouts of obviously Chelsea drawing last night as well. So it's all pretty positive. On to Newcastle on Saturday. Obviously, they've had a day's extra rest compared to us. I don't think that should affect us. We should have more than enough to beat them. Haven't won for 9 games, but, woe betide us after last year being 2-0 up, completely comfortable and cocking it up in one of the most astonishing capitulations I've ever seen at Goodison in injury time, a game he was so comfortable in. So we have to be wary of that after last year. But I don't think that will happen again, and we owe them one after the defeat at St James's Park back in October. So on to Saturday. we shall record another episode Saturday afternoon with some reactions to the Newcastle game. If you want to get in touch, at nmtbpod@gmail.com or just at nmtbpod on Twitter. Until then, come on, you Blues.